Hey everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm doing a reactions to the host cities that were announced for the 2026 World Cup. Okay, so let's just start with what cities were picked. There was Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Guadalajara in the Western region. FIFA, for some reason, divided them into 3 regions for announcements purposes, I suppose. Eastern region was Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, Monterrey, and Mexico City, as well as Atlanta, which I think is an Eastern region, but whatever. And then for Eastern region, it was Philly, New York City, Boston, Boston, New York City, Philly, Toronto as well, and Miami. So let's get into which ones didn't get picked. For the Central region, they all got picked, or for the Western region, they all got picked. For a Central region, Edmonton didn't get picked, though that may also have been considered a Western region, I'm not really sure. And also for Central region, technically Nashville and Cincinnati didn't get picked. I think they would have been Eastern region. And for Eastern, there's Orlando and Washington, D.C. / Baltimore. So let's talk about that. Edmonton, I understand that they didn't get picked. I think we all saw that coming. Denver, I also understand for a couple different reasons that they didn't get picked. Nashville was too close to Atlanta, didn't think it would get picked. Although I love Orlando, I didn't think it would get picked. I thought Miami would get the bid over it. I mean, like, even Miami and Orlando getting it would make sense, you know? California has 2 teams. I know California, or 2 host cities. I know California is way bigger, but still. Texas has 2 teams. Yeah, so I could have understood Florida getting 2 of them, but we didn't for some reason. Cincinnati, I don't understand, in my opinion. I think out of any of these, Cincinnati, second to another city we'll talk about in a minute, got kind of ripped off the most. I wish Cincinnati would have got a bid instead of Boston. I didn't like Boston's bid at all. I thought the stadium was way too far from Boston. It's really more in Foxborough. It's much more of a Foxborough bid, honestly. Which I know I'm okay with, like, DC and Baltimore. It's DC's history and prestige, as well as some of Baltimore's, but in the Baltimore Stadium. And the reason I'm okay with that as opposed to Boston is because they never were like, oh, it's Foxborough's history or anything. It was just Boston's history with a stadium that's way too far out of it. It's like in between Providence and Boston, so it's not even like, yeah, I don't know, I don't like it. It's a good stadium, it's a cool stadium, but I'm just not crazy about it all around. I thought Mexico would get 2. I understand them getting 3. I just think this is a hard thing that happens when you have such a large bid with 3 countries and pretty much a whole continent. I mean, this is going to be the biggest World Cup by land size. Russia was big, but I believe North America has to be bigger than Russia. Yeah, they've got to be, because USA is the 3rd biggest country, tied with China. Some difference on, like, land mass or water mass, I don't really remember. But they're, like, tied for 3rd, and Canada's 2nd largest. So those 2 combined, as well with Mexico, which is probably, like, top 10, they're probably bigger than Russia. But anyway, I think also with so many huge cities, it's difficult, because how do you justify who to take it away from? I mean, you know, who would you take it away from to give it to Cincy? In my opinion, they should add 2. They won't, that's okay, but in my opinion, they should have added 2, or just not done a united bid. But that's fine. We'll get into later why I think that later on. We'll get into why I think that's good. For future though, I think we should lower the bids. I'm a fan of a Uruguay and Argentina bid with Bolivia, Paraguay, and Chile in 2030 because of the 30-year anniversary and all that, but I'm not a fan of that so many countries. Anyways, the biggest one that got ripped off was DC and Baltimore. Baltimore's a nice stadium. I think the M&T Bank is better, honestly, than Gillette Stadium, which could change if they got an upgrade. It's probably it's on par with Lumen Field in Seattle and Levi's in San Jose, Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. It's on par with a lot of those, Hard Rock in Miami. And I'm just saying on par because, of course, looks is subjective, you know, so looks are subjective, obviously. Just because it might look better than other stadiums doesn't mean it should get picked. As well as just not having it in the nation's capital is weird, in my opinion. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I also have a couple problems with just how big of gaps there are in areas. I don't know, think about, like, if you're in Richmond, Virginia, you either gotta go to Atlanta or Philly, which isn't that bad, but, and I mean, they obviously weren't trying to make sure every single population density area got one. It wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have been viable to do that, and I'm sure Richmond to Virginia, or Richmond to Philly is not too far, but it's weird. But I'm not too disappointed with it. I think there's a lot of bids that, I think there's a lot of worse ways it could have gone. You know, there's a lot of worse ways. I think I would have been upset if Edmonton got picked, upset if Denver got picked, and, you know, if like, Cincy and Nashville got picked over, like, I don't know who that would be, I would have been upset. So, this one I can understand. I think it's weird that DC, Baltimore didn't get it. If there's a reason they didn't get it, it probably is because their joint bid was too late, I guess. I'm not crazy about it, but whatever. One interesting thing, Los Angeles confirmed that their stadium would be a SoFi Stadium, so it's not going to be Rose Bowl. There might be a fan fest at Rose Bowl, which would be a good idea. It's Los Angeles is huge, so doing some sort of fan fest at Rose Bowl, I think would be a good idea. SoFi Stadium got announced, which makes sense. It's a really big stadium. It's a great stadium. Makes a lot of sense. I got most of my picks right. I didn't think Guadalajara would get it or Houston would get it, but they did. In the end, FIFA really went with, I mean, if you were going to bet money, you probably would have bet it on these. It was the biggest populations, the biggest cities all around. It's the biggest cities, the most famous cities, except for like DC didn't get picked, and Chicago and Las Vegas. From Chicago, Las Vegas, really those they didn't get picked because there wasn't a bid. Late on, there was very early, and maybe I'll do this just as like a history recap. I found the other day that there was like 40 host cities trying to be a bid, and maybe I'll do like a what if video, like a what if these cities got picked. What, you know, that'd be interesting. Birmingham was one, which I think was interesting. Birmingham, I don't think would have gotten picked at all. Birmingham, Alabama. But that would have been interesting because it would have been probably a college football stadium. I don't know if Birmingham has any others. I don't care, honestly. That sounds rude. But maybe it would have been college football where Alabama plays or whatever team plays there. That would have been interesting. Ann Arbor, Michigan, I think had a bid with the Pontiac Superdome, I believe, from where it was playing like 1994. Los Angeles had a bid with whatever big stadium they have there. Las Vegas had a bid. Anyway, there was more. Jacksonville had a bid. Tampa had a bid. Which gets me onto another point. I was a fan of a joint bid between DC and Baltimore. I think DC had a terrible stadium, and the best option would be Washington Commanders to make an amazing stadium for an NFL team, so they can afford it. They could build a beautiful stadium ready for the World Cup. Which, totally side note, the Washington Commanders is a terrible name. So is the old name. Yeah, that was terrible. But you have the option to make a new team, and you pick the Commanders? I don't understand. I don't think that's a good name at all. But Commanders is a stupid name. But anyway, with Baltimore, who has an amazing stadium, and DC, who has some really big prestige, to combine those bids, I thought would have been a good idea. It didn't win over FIFA in the end. So yeah, but because of that, I thought Orlando and Tampa could have done a joint bid, and it would have been good. If you took Tampa's stadium that Tampa Bay Buccaneers plays in, that just hosted the 55th World Cup, I believe. It's a pretty nice stadium. I mean, it's not going to be better than some on the list, but it's a pretty nice stadium. Tampa St. Pete is a huge population area. Combine that with Orlando, which has Orlando City Stadium, Explorer Stadium, which is a good training facility. You could give them the teams a training facility there, and then play the game in Tampa Bay. And then you would have Disney and Universal, Legoland, all those places. And the Brightline, which I didn't talk about in my old video, there is one of the only high-speed rails in the country, other than the Northeast Corridor, Texas Central, and the high-speed rail in California. There is Brightline in Florida, which goes right now from only Miami to Fort Lauderdale to West Palm, but it has an expansion coming in 2023 to Orlando, and after that, it plans expansion to Tampa. So Tampa St. Pete. That would be easy transportation to get from Miami all the way up to the Tampa games and get from Tampa to Orlando. I thought that would have been a good bet through. Anyways, those are the stadiums that were the cities that were announced, as well as the stadiums. They didn't announce where the final would be or where the opening game would be. My best bet is the opening game will be, I was thinking Baltimore, DC. Not anymore. Maybe it's in Los Angeles with SoFi. Maybe it's in Dallas with AT&T. Maybe it's in Philadelphia, not July 4th. That would be cool. There should be a July 4th game in Philadelphia, even if it's not USA. Yeah, want to see where the opening game will be. Probably in Eastern City. It's probably gonna be New York City. I think Canada should open in Vancouver, and I think Mexico should open in Mexico City, or maybe Vancouver and Toronto if that means then USA can open on the West Coast. And yeah, West Coast, and next morning we have a Mid Coast and East Coast game with LA, Mexico City, and Toronto respectively. Yeah, also, I'd love to dream of what an Orlando, Tampa, a Central Florida bid would be. Maybe I'll do a video about all the bids, just what if those were bids, and look at what stadium it would be, a little bit about the city, so on and so forth, and maybe I'll do a what if Central Florida was a bid. I'd love to get into some of that. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's it, guys. I'm really excited for the 2026 World Cup. I will be releasing a more cemented like series. I'm planning on doing a series where we go through every single city one by one. That'll probably start in July, and then after that, just kind of reviewing any news that comes out regarding the World Cup. Hope you all enjoyed. Yeah, tell me down in the comment section below now if they're confirmed, which cities are you going to go to. You'll probably have a home base, or maybe you're going to be like me and you're going to try to go to every single venue. See you all later. Have a great day.